Today we begin with a new lesson in bio, and that is respiratory system. Now children, many a times you have heard your mother saying to have a proper diet, to have a proper lunch or a dinner. Now do you ever realize children why you are being emphasized so much on eating a proper diet? Every time you are asked to take a cup of milk, every time you are told to have a proper diet that contains all the important nutrients of the diet. Now, the only thing why you are asked to have a proper diet is because you will get what is known as energy. And energy is something which is needed by our body to perform all the day-to-day physical and the metabolic activities that carry on in our body. That means whatever work you're doing, from the time you get up to the time you go off to bed, children, whatever physical activities you're doing, whatever metabolic activities are going on in your body, children, all these need a lot of energy. And this energy comes from the food that we eat. Now, whatever food you are eating, children, how come that energy is taken out from it? There has to be some process which is behind this mechanism. So the process or the mechanism which is there behind this is known as, children, respiration. The answer to this is respiration. Now underline these lines, children. Respiration is a biochemical process of energy release in our body. Energy is released by the breaking down of the digested food during the process of respiration. That means, children, whatever food we are eating, that food undergoes a process in which, children, energy is released, and that process by which the energy is released is termed to be respiration, right? It is a biochemical process of energy release in our body. It occurs in all the living cells and involves the oxidation of the food. That means every cell of a body will perform respiration, children. And for respiration, we require a lot of oxygen. The energy-rich food, that means the glucose or the fructose, children, are changed into, children, water and carbon dioxide. And along with water and carbon dioxide, what do we get? We get a lot of energy in the form of ATP molecules. Now this ATP stands for, children, adenosine triphosphate. And this ATP molecule is actually the form in which energy is stored in our body. It is also the energy currency of our body. Coming to the process of respiration. For respiration, there is a constant supply of oxygen, which is provided by the process of breathing. Now, breathing is something which you have all heard of, children. Breathing is taking in of the fresh air, that means air that contains a lot of oxygen, and giving out the air that will contain a lot of carbon dioxide. Because by the process of respiration, children, see, carbon dioxide is released. So this carbon dioxide has to move out of our body, and that throwing out of the carbon dioxide and taking in out of the oxygen is termed as normal breathing. This normal breathing is also known as, children, external respiration. You can underline these 4 lines. This is telling you the complete mechanism. Next, children, there's an activity given. You can see to show that the exhaled air contains carbon dioxide. Now an apparatus setup is made. As you can see, children, 2 test tubes have been taken, and in these 2 test tubes, children, freshly prepared lime water is kept. The mouth of the test tube are closed by the double-holed stopper. Double-holed, why am I saying, children? You can see there are 2 holes made in the stopper. Through these 2 holes, the delivery tubes are coming in. See, one delivery tube is here which is coming in, going inside the lime water. Then there is a small delivery tube which is interconnected to the tube which is going in the second one also. And then there is a small tube which is going towards the mouth of the person over here. From the second test tube, children, there is another delivery tube which has a small delivery tube which is opening like this, and there is a bigger one which is interconnected with this one. Now, when the person is exhaling out, that means he is going to throw the carbon dioxide out. He is exhaling. Now, in this activity, children, we are going to see what will happen because this person is continuously exhaling out. Now, when he is exhaling out, children, he is giving out the air that contains a lot of carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide, children, is going in both the test tubes. In one of the test tube, it is lying above the lime water, and in the second test tube, it is going right inside and it is getting mixed with the freshly prepared lime water. So when this experiment will go on for some time, we will observe that both the lime waters will turn slightly milky. This will not turn as milky as this one will be. Why, children? Because a lot of exhaled air is directly getting added to this lime water. Now see this, children. This shows that more carbon dioxide is present in the exhaled air, which comes out from the mouth after respiration. The release of energy during respiration takes place only with the help of several chemical reactions that are catalyzed by the enzymes that are present in our body. These reactions will take place in all the living organisms together, children, and they are together termed to be cellular respiration or internal respiration, right? Now, the energy that is released, children, during this process is stored in the form of ATP molecules. Right now, I told you the full form of ATP, children, adenosine triphosphate. Now, this is a well-balanced reaction which states that how respiration takes place and what are the products that are formed during respiration. See, this is glucose, means the food that we eat, the glucose that is present in that. It will combine with 6 molecules of oxygen. In the presence of enzymes that are there in our body, children, it will combine and produce 6 molecules of carbon dioxide that we throw out during breathing, children. 6 molecules of water that are there in our body, and a lot of energy is also released. This entire process takes place partially. Now, this is important, children, underline that where exactly does the respiration takes place. I told you it takes place in every living cell of the organism, but exactly where in the cell, which part of the cell is concerned with doing respiration. So this gives you the answer. It takes place partially, means some part of it takes place in the cytoplasm. Now, cytoplasm was the jelly-like fluid which is present in the cells and in the mitochondria of every cell in the body. Now, mitochondria, if you remember, children, in the chapter of cells, I had told you that mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Now, this mitochondria was concerned with creating a lot of energy. So now you know, children, how does the mitochondria contains or produces the energy, children? Because the process of respiration goes on in the mitochondria. And as a result of this respiration, children, what is being produced? Energy. So we say that mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Coming to the next thing, children, the differences between cellular respiration and breathing. Very, very important. First, it is an oxidative breakdown of glucose. That means what is exactly cellular respiration, children? It is the breakdown of glucose along with the oxygen. That is why oxidative. Breathing is only taking in of the fresh air that contains a lot of oxygen, giving out of the foul air that contains a lot of carbon dioxide. Cellular respiration is a biochemical process. Breathing is a physical process. Cellular respiration will produce energy, and this energy will get stored in the form of ATP molecules. While breathing will not produce any energy, whereas it will use the energy that is already there in our body. Fourth, it occurs in the presence of enzymes. The respiratory enzymes are required, but for breathing, no enzymes are required. Okay, fifth, it is an intracellular process. Now, intracellular word means, children, it occurs inside the cell. It is an extracellular process. It takes place outside the cell. It occurs at the same speed. The speed will not increase or decrease. It will occur at a constant speed. Now, the speed of breathing may increase or decrease depending upon the function that we are performing. Now, maybe you might have experienced, children, when you're running. If you're running very fast, the rate of your breathing increases. And when you're just walking, or when you're sleeping, or when you're just lying and watching TV, children, your breathing rate lowers down, or it becomes constant at that time. So this increase and decrease of the speed will depend upon what work are you doing. Next, children, we begin with types of respiration. Now, respiration is, children, of two types. One is known as aerobic respiration. Another word for aerobic respiration is also cellular respiration. And the second type of respiration is known as anaerobic respiration. Another word for anaerobic respiration is also fermentation. Now, let's see what are these two. Aerobic respiration. The oxygen which enters the lungs. Now, when you're breathing, children, the air that we take in goes directly to the lungs, and from the lungs to the cells of our body. That oxygen is used for the oxidation of the food or the glucose. In this process, food is completely broken down. Oxidized over here means, children, it combines with oxygen and gets broken down to form carbon dioxide, water, and a lot of energy. So the type of respiration, children, that takes place in the presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. It is also called aerobic respiration or cellular respiration as it occurs in the presence of oxygen. This process, now this is important, children, this process is completely, it gets over or is completed. Part of it takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell and mainly in the mitochondria that we read right now, children. Next, we come to anaerobic respiration. Now, in certain microorganisms, microorganisms are such a small organisms, children, which can only be seen with the help of microscopes, like the fungi, yeast, bacteria. In these organisms, children, glucose is partially oxidized. That means it is not completely broken down with the help of oxygen, but a part of it is broken down with the help of oxygen. And when it breaks down, children, it breaks down into lactic acid or ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. Now, it is not producing the same products which we had seen in aerobic respiration. On the other side, it is producing lactic acid or ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is termed to be anaerobic respiration. Another word, fermentation. The energy released during this process is very, very less. Now, the amount of energy, if you compare of aerobic and anaerobic, children, you will see that very less amount of energy is released during aerobic respiration. Underline this line, children. The entire process is completed in the cytoplasm of the cell only. That means this will not take place in the mitochondria, but it will only take place in the cytoplasm. Now see, children, this is the reaction for it. Now over here there is only glucose. There is no oxygen that we were seeing in the previous reaction, children, because it is taking place in the absence of oxygen. So when it is taking place in the absence of oxygen, children, it is producing ethyl alcohol, that is C2H5OH, plus carbon dioxide plus a very little amount of energy. Now see, this is a word reaction for it, children. Glucose is over here. There is no oxygen because this reaction is taking place in the absence of oxygen. So this glucose will break down into ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol is C2H5OH plus carbon dioxide plus energy. So this reaction will take place in the case of anaerobic respiration. This anaerobic respiration also takes place in our muscles during the vigorous muscular activity. Now, many a times, children, when we are doing vigorous activities in the form of fast running, cycling, swimming, doing heavy exercises, then what happens is, children, the oxygen gets used up faster than it is available to the muscle cells. That means the amount of oxygen that the muscle cell requires at that time goes much higher than what our body can provide. So the muscles in that condition, children, they start respiring anaerobically. That means they start doing the respiration in the absence of oxygen. But this can only take place for a short period of time. Now when this happens, children, then what happens? Because of this kind of a anaerobic respiration, children, lactic acid is being produced, right? Then lactic acid starts getting filled and starts getting formed in the muscle cells, because at that time the amount of oxygen that a body requires goes higher than what a body can actually obtain. So under that condition, due to the anaerobic respiration, children, lactic acid gets produced and it starts getting accumulated in our muscle cells. Now this, children, is also the answer that many a times we get a muscle cramps when we are racing or we are doing vigorous exercises in our school. The reason for this is the lactic acid that gets accumulated, children, that causes the muscle cramps. Actually, when the muscle cells respire anaerobically, then partial breakdown of the glucose occurs, which produces lactic acid. The accumulation of lactic acid causes the muscle cramps. Normally, children, we can get relief from such type of muscle cramps after a hot bath or by the gentle massage with the lukewarm oil. Now, why does it happen, children? When we take a bath with hot water or do a massage with the oil, children, then the circulation of the blood gets increased to that area. Now, when the circulation of the blood increases, children, a lot of oxygen starts coming to the muscle cells. Now, this extra oxygen that starts coming to the muscle cells, children, that helps in the breaking down of the lactic acid that has been produced. And this lactic acid again gets broken down into carbon dioxide and water, because it is generally made up of carbon and water only, children. That is carbon dioxide or water, you can say, or carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, you can say, children. It is C2H5OH. So once again it gets broken down into carbon dioxide and water. Coming to the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. First, aerobic. It is a process of breakdown of glucose in the presence of oxygen. That means it will take place in the presence of oxygen. This is also the breakdown of glucose, but in the absence of oxygen. Under aerobic, children, second point, glucose is completely oxidized. That means the complete food will get broken down to release energy and carbon dioxide plus water. Glucose will be incompletely oxidized to produce ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide. The end products are carbon dioxide, water and energy. And the end products are carbon dioxide, ethyl alcohol and energy in case of plants. To be taken into account, children, this is in case of plants. While in case of animals and human beings, children, it is lactic acid and much less amount of energy. Energy released is more, energy released is less, only 2 ATP molecules. It takes place in the higher organisms. This takes place in the lower organism, like the microorganism, like the yeast, bacteria. I hope, children, after seeing the entire video and after listening to me very carefully, you have understood each and everything that I have tried to explain you. Now, if you have really understood the lesson well, don't forget to please subscribe, like and do share my videos with many of your friends so that they also are being helped by me, that is Mrs. D Nandan. So, thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.